Welcome to the Inspire and Learn series. We are the Multi-Hull Group, a multi-award winning dealership in Australia, specialising in catamarans. Join us as our expert team teach you all about anchoring, docking, rigging, sail trim, maintenance, and so much more, so you can build confidence in your catamaran handling ability. In this episode, John from our exclusive service department, Vessel Tech, introduces engine maintenance by showing us what tools, spares, and cleaning equipment he recommends all owners should have on board at all times. Enjoy!
So welcome back to another Inspire and Learn series with the Multi-Hull Group. I'm Joe Fox, and today I'm joined by John Gamlin, one of our service coordinators from Vessel Tech, the dedicated service centre for the Multi-Hull Group. John is a rigger and yachtmaster by trade. He's got many thousands of sailing miles under his belt, up to 80,000 he just told me. So John, very impressive. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Today we're just going to talk about diesel engines on your lagoon. So generally on the smaller lagoons we're dealing with common rail Yanmar engines. John's going to talk us through some of the things that you can do as an owner to maintain your engine. Not necessarily regular servicing, but regular checks which you can do on board just to keep your engine healthy and to identify any problems before they become issues. Okay, so just before we head outside to take a look at one of these engines, John, I noticed you brought some tools with you today. Do you want to just talk us through what you brought and how you'd use it?
Okay, so what I've assembled here, Joe, is a selection of tools that you'd want to see on any boat that's going to spend time away from the dock, where you're going to want, and even for boats that are on the dock, you want to have these tools in your toolkit so that you can have a look, conduct your routine maintenance, and if you need to investigate a little bit further, you've got the tools to do it. I mean, we can start from this end. One of the things that you'll notice about this hammer, for instance, is it's a soft-nosed hammer, not a hard hammer. So we want to, if we're freeing up bits and pieces, we don't always want to be damaging them with a hard hammer. That's why we're using a soft-nosed hammer. One thing about your screwdrivers, some of you may have seen these little stumpies. You do need to have those in your kit, and you need to have posi or Phillips drive and a slot, because various systems use the different heads. But your little stumpy you're going to need in areas, often on boats, you get very tight areas where you simply can't get a larger handled screwdriver. So you want to get yourself a spade stumpy and a Phillips stumpy. We've got various sizes of socket wrench. You want to make sure that the tools that you've got are right for the job. The last thing you want to do is be out in the middle of the ocean and go to your toolkit to find that tool and find that it's not right for the job. So you need to be sizing, thinking about as we run through our maintenance checks and what have you, what am I going to need to undo here, what size am I going to need, and then make sure that your tools fit the job. We've got a selection of spanners. A couple of things about the spanners. Again, you want to make sure that your tools are going to fit the job. For instance, here we've got 2 ring spanners. You want to be trying wherever you can to use ring spanners to free up your nuts. But you'll notice that one of them, these are great, it's got a ratchet system in the end of it, which is great for hard to get at places, but you need to make sure that you've got the extra room that you'll see on that ring spanner to fit over the nut. Otherwise you might be back to an old manually operated ring spanner. That's called a shifter. Wherever we can, we try and use our ring spanner, not a shifter, because this has a habit of bearing up nuts, rounding them off, which can make it even more difficult to undo.
This is quite a good last case resort, isn't it, really?
It is, and also for your larger
larger
nuts and bolts and
yeah.
what have you, or for your rigging screws and what have you. If that were to happen, one of the most useful tools that I find on a boat is a pair of vice grips. And I also have a small pair of vice grips. If you do have that situation where nuts are starting to round off and what have you, you can generally get your vice grips on them. You can even get them on the heads of screws, where the screw head's rounded out or what have you, and you can still get your screws out with a set of vice grips. So very, very useful tool to have.
However, they probably will destroy the nut and the
they
screw
will,
head, won't
yeah.
they? But at least you got it off.
Yeah, that's right. And we're talking here. We might be talking about repairs when we really need them. So we've got some wire brushes, a couple of large and a small stainless steel wire brush. We're going to be using those to clean off corrosion around various parts, particularly in the electrical system around battery terminals, what have you. If we've got a build-up of corrosion, we want to get that off before we then go and spray some protectant, some lubricant or protectant over the top of them. So it's useful to have that on board. I've got here a small hacksaw. I find these really useful. You can get a variety of different blades. So if you need to cut away anything, be it metal, timber, fiberglass, a small tool like this, it doesn't take up much room. They're cheap to buy, but they can really help you out in a difficult situation. Plenty of other tools that you can have in your kit, and by all means, if you're that way inclined, then get what you can. Try and get good quality tools, because they're out in the marine environment. They need to last, and when you need them to work, they need to work. So it's worth investing a bit of extra money. And then I've also assembled just a few basic spares that you might carry on the boat. Here we've got a spare alternator belt. We need that, of course, if the other one frays or gets damaged and we need to replace it, because without that we can't charge our batteries. Here we've got we'll be running through the cooling system on the boat, and this is the impeller. This is what moves the raw water around the system.
Very important.
Very important.
Yeah.
These tend to break down, the veins tend to become brittle over time. They're a soft rubber. They become brittle. One of those veins snaps off, and all of a sudden you're not pushing the water that you need to be around the system. So you need to talk to your mechanic about the right belts and the right impeller they have on your boat, and those you should be carrying those at all times. We've also got some hose clamps here, so some assortment of stainless steel hose clamps for if any hoses burst. We've got a couple of joiners there, again, in case we need to cut out if a hose bursts or splits. We can get rid of the damaged section, but we can actually rejoin that hose if there's enough hose left to do that.
You've got two sizes here. Does that mean there are only two sizes on this boat, or?
No, it doesn't. It just means that that's all I had in the loft today.
All right.
But again, we want to get to know the boat, ideally before we make any long passages, so that we know that we've got the spares that we need for our boat.
So a few more things here. What else have we got?
Just the last couple of things. We've got some cable ties. When we have a look at the engine, you'll see that a lot of the components, the tubing, the wiring and what have you, is neatly tied up out of the way. Really good reason for that. We don't want it getting caught in some of the other systems on the boat. We don't want it moving around when we're underway. So if you are undoing, if you need to undo or we tend to cut cable ties away if we need to get access in behind them or around them, then make sure at the end of the job that you redo those cable ties so that everything stays where it should be for when you go to sea. And I've also got some selections of tape, a bit of gaffer tape there, a bit of rubber weld tape. That's really useful. That's tape that adheres to itself. So you're simply stretching that tape over the component. It'll usually stretch up to half its width, and binding that around, and then you just pull it off and that'll actually bind to itself. There's no adhesive in it. Sticks to everything, or binds to everything. A bit of electrical tape and a bit of sandpaper in case I need to, again, if I need to get rid of any corrosion, or if I need to prepare some material maybe for some adhesion, or if I'm cleaning up the plate that impeller that sits against that impeller, I might need some sandpaper just to get that nice and smooth, get rid of some corrosion or something.
Yep. One very popular question: what's the difference between Imperial and metric, and why are there two systems, and which one do we have on these boats specifically?
Okay, we've got metric on these lagoons. We run, so in engineering you've got a metric and an Imperial system. Imperial is simply fractions of an inch. And so, for instance, a lot of our screws and nuts and bolts, we might have a 3/16 bolt or a 1/4 inch bolt or a 5/16 bolt. Those are all fractions of an inch. The metric equivalent is going to be, I think it's 3.8 millimeters or 4 millimeters for a 5/32, 4.8 for the 3/16, 6.4 millimeters for a 1/4 inch. So
So it's very confusing because it looks like you got the right size spanner, but it's not the right size, doesn't fit, and it might strip the head.
That's correct. If you've got, if you're needing to undo a 1/4 inch nut, a 6mm socket isn't going to do the job,
No, it's
because
not.
it needs to be 6.4. So you're quite right. We need to make sure that we've got the right sizings of tools to undo the fittings on the boat. But these lagoons are all metric fastenings. You do have to be careful where you've got other equipment coming in onto the boat that may have an Imperial component to them.
Fantastic. Okay, John, so there's one thing I can see down there on the floor that we haven't looked at yet. I think it's a very important topic. I think a lot of people don't clean their engine rooms as much as they should. It's a very important place down there. So John, just let's see what's in your bucket.
I brought this on board because we need to be making sure that we're keeping our bilges dry and clean. We want to keep them dry because if we end up with water in the bilge, we want to know where it came from. We want to know when it got there. So it's no point in us seeing a litre of water in the bottom of the engine if we don't know that engine was dry a week ago, and then what's happened in the interim. So one of the important things that we need to be doing, I always carry a sponge for sponging out the bilge. I carry a chamois for getting the last little bit so that I know that the bilge is actually dry, completely dry. And then I've also got some rags. We need some rags obviously for cleaning up if there's a bit of an oil leak. Again, we want to be wiping those oil leaks away and then seeing how quickly they come back, or wiping that entire engine down so that we can see where on the engine that oil leak is actually coming from.
Right.
Where on the engine or where in the components is the leak actually coming from? Is it coming from this component, or is the water dripping down from up above? Very, very important. And should be well used. Shouldn't be left in the cupboard, never used.
All right. Okay, John. So we've obviously talked through what you use to look after your engine to a degree. There will obviously be things that we didn't mention that people should really learn their engine bays and figure out, make sure that they've got every tool for every fitting on board the boat essentially.
Within reason, there are going to be plenty of jobs on the boat that you simply can't do. You shouldn't be attempting an oil change in the middle of the Atlantic, but you are concerned if you've got an oil leak. You want to be able to top up that oil leak, maybe nip up a nut or something like that. So you want to be able to make repairs where you need to and get that boat to a safe haven where you can then have possibly more major work or more specialised work done by a specialist, by a technician.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying this series, do subscribe to us on YouTube, do leave a comment. We do like the feedback, it's very constructive. Until next time, thank you very much.
In the next episode, John is going down into the engine bay to show you the process of routine engine maintenance. We'll see you then.